A delegation of Bangladesh tribal leaders, tribal chiefs, government officials, UN officials and others had made a maiden visit to Shillong on the 10th of May 2022. During their visit, the delegation met the chairman of the Khasi Hills Autonomous District Council, Lamphrang Blah, to share views on tribal codes on customary laws related to marriage, inheritance, child custody and land matters, and how authorities are handling such matters. Speaking to Media Plus, the Chakma Raja, who is the chief of Chakma Circle of the Chittagong Hill Tracts of Bangladesh, Raja Devashish Roy, informed on the similarities as well as differences on tribal codes of Meghalaya and Bangladesh, and also to learn about good judicial practices in Meghalaya and Nagaland, the two states that the delegation intends to visit in the next few days.
We are a mixed team of traditional leaders, chiefs, headmen, United Nations officials, government officials, district councillors. So we're visiting two states in Northeast India. This is our first leg in Shillong, Meghalaya, and then we'll be proceeding to Dimapur and Kohima to see Nagaland. So our primary purpose is actually to share experiences on customary law codes, tribal codes, how in each state and in each district the authorities are handling customary law matters of inheritance, marriage, child custody, or even customary land matters. And so how justice can be really made more and more accessible to all litigants in a litigant-friendly manner, but particularly disadvantaged groups like women, persons with disability, elderly, children, minorities. So we're trying to learn good practices from the different areas that we are visiting. And we also share what we think might be good and maybe appropriate for other jurisdictions like Meghalaya or Nagaland. So we are really, really thrilled, and we are very grateful that the Honorable Chairman of the Khasi District Council, the Honorable Judge of the District Council Court gave us time and shared. We are very grateful.
And how do you, as far as the meeting that you had, how satisfied are you, and what are the kind of,
very satisfied. There are many things that we think that the way things are being done here could help us to reform our way of doing things, whereas in some respects perhaps our ways are appropriate to our own context. But still there are many things, answers I have received as a law student also. I am a traditional chief, like a traditional judge, but I also am a lawyer by training, so it helps us in trying to reform our court procedure.
And what are the similarities or differences, if any, that you found after the discussion today?
The similarities are that here you have also hereditary courts, like hereditary CM or other headmen who enter the office because of their ancestors being a son or daughter. We have that, and we have the same thing that customary law is unwritten. It is not codified. So these are binding precedents. It is passed down through the generations. That is administered by the different courts under the district council here. But in ours, actually, district councils don't have courts. We are the traditional hereditary courts on the one hand, and then you have the government courts on the other, sometimes parallel, sometimes separate. And so the difference is that here the district council appoints the courts and passes the rules. In our case, our district council has not yet passed rules on administration of justice, but it has the authority. And in our case, it is the hereditary chiefs and headmen who try tribal customary law. So that's quite different. And of course, because after the British left, we are now different states, India and Bangladesh, Pakistan, now Bangladesh. So our laws have also evolved in somewhat different ways, like Code of Civil Procedure, Code of Criminal Procedure, the Penal Code. Those have gone on their own way. They're a little different. But still, the similarity is that customary law is given to the highest priority and respect. Although our constitutional framework is not as strong as you have here, but still there are many similarities.
So you have this this practice of having tribal and non-tribal even in Bangladesh.
True, we do have also tribal and non-tribal, but for the tribals we still retain our own court system, where mostly civil matters and inheritance, marriage, family law matters.
Okay. And to come closer to our community, Khasis, so we have a lot of people who are still residing in Bangladesh. We have a community of the Khasis residing in Bangladesh. So what are they considered to be, tribals or non-tribals?
Yes, Khasis in Bangladesh are definitely considered to be tribals or indigenous. In fact, I happen to be a chair of a network on biodiversity and climate change, where we have Khasi members in Greater Sylhet. There is they call it Adivasi or Indigenous Peoples Forum. So I have my Khasi friends like Judicial Pradhan Suchiang, Pidishan Pradhan Suchiang, Andrew Shalamor. There are many Khasi friends we know, and we work together to defend our land and other rights. So if they have a issue with the government or anybody, we stand by with them, and if we have an issue, they join us in solidarity. So we appreciate that very much.
So they enjoy certain rights that they have.
They do, but they also enjoy certain challenges in that their land rights, particularly in the Khasi Punji, they say, where the Mantri are there. In some cases, the forest department does not acknowledge their customary rights. So there is a little bit of conflict sometimes between who the land belongs to. But we think we side with the Khasi because they do the beetle leaf and the beetle mark in a way we think the conservation is good for conservation of forests. And we think that that is good for the livelihood, but as well as for conservation of big trees and all. And we think that government ought to acknowledge their rights. There are some areas which we hope we can resolve. I don't know. It's difficult. But we are with them. We are with the Khasi people.
Coming aside from this meeting that you have, probably if I have to come to the insurgency point of view, where as you know, a lot of the northeastern insurgency group are they are camping in Bangladesh. So as a traditional chief, what is your view, and how do you treat them?
Well, I don't have details now, but there are two things here. One is it's a matter of humanitarian issues if someone seeks shelter in your territory. But of course, we also have to abide by the laws of our country. And therefore, we have to be also respectful of the law. It can be very challenging sometimes. But the fact is that the indigenous peoples, we have been neighbors for centuries. And there is also the humanitarian element that you stand by people who have, for whatever reason, have not been able to live in their country or have taken refuge. But in person, I prefer non-violent ways of doing things.
Council delegation for Bangladesh, Kibrain Pakas, Chittagong Hill Tribe, the Yuan Markando Yani Barba, Matkish from Kumnu Kum Sinsar Karaki, Tip to Sujui, Kimayo Benekan Maki, Kila, the Kamtami Klish Pangaka, Hamade, Kamtami Leka, Bishar Kadar, Rodea Court, Judicial Court Joiga Council, the Indonesian judge like what Layo Matayaki, Baka Kumaloka. Kalau donji pere mereka kom penyayakan besar kadar seketika jogi berjogi kita.
Jika kajingnya per na kajingnya kajinglong kumju ki loss ki rules bakal bi mapi. Kajingnya long senrem bat kajingnya per ki don kajingnya per don ji senrem.
Tapi don ji per marulung ta. Abot kilang nilai long per bahamo. Nataraw lang no per rapaya kalen ka rokom ay kajak kakong di opateng ti loki lokalo per di loklaya tari ya kliye mani loki ki kentay de kinong yo pateng ya ba yo ijak kakong mo ti ba kita dong ki
Kalian joki kamu kom juga.
kamdam ki don sepang ni ki kom kerja ke judiciary sepang besar kadar mang idon ki British code ki additional subordinate code idon ki district code ta ka additional district council code angi terus ki lo ki don jiper la jong ta terus yo bal ki sepang kita kamdam budi judiciary tai kabre ni judiciary tam ni don judge apa tai ba ki sepang ka role and function juga district council code